Was you in this school?
Yeah, this is my school.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
Do you not know that? That's why we're here.
No.
Alright, this is the Keith Andrews Football Show, my first ever interview. Megan Campbell, thanks for joining me.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Irish international, Man City, legend already.
Yeah.
Right, we've bad news. December, you had the ACL done, anterior cruciate ligament. How was it? How did it happen, first and foremost?
I was playing in a Champions League game, home leg round of 16 against LSK Kvinner, and I've second half been playing well, and I've gone to step in to make a tackle with my left foot, and I planted my right foot to do so, and unfortunately my right knee didn't bend and just gave way.
And you've had the operation for 5 weeks ago?
Yes, 5 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah, and the rehab's gone quite well?
Yeah, it's going good, yeah. Thankfully it's a slow process to begin with, which it always is, as they say, but hopefully come the 3-month mark I'll be able to do a lot more and be back on the grass.
My path, I would say, is very different to your path in terms of you're obviously getting towards the prime of your career. So I played Stella Maris Low League. How was it for you growing up as a girl in Drogheda playing football? Was it more difficult for you than it would have been for the boys, for instance?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, for most girls my age, I think I could say it for all of them, where we all started with boys. There was not many girls teams about, and for me, I started underage with boys, and I played all the way up to under 14s with them until the rule came in where girls obviously couldn't play with boys anymore. And then thankfully they made a team in Drogheda called Boyne Rovers for the girls team, where I've joined them, and from under 16s played with them for a few years, and moved about around Drogheda and played with Moneymore, and then played with Drogheda United for a year.
Then you ended up at Francis?
Yeah, then I went to St Francis. So basically I had a decision to make of to whether I wanted to go further in my career or to just play football. And me and my dad and family, mum sat down, and I decided to go to Dublin, which took a lot out because obviously dad had to travel with me a lot and drive me everywhere, but it paid off in the end, thankfully.
Was that a big decision? Like what age would you have been really serious about football and maybe, okay, this is a path that I could possibly take? About
16, 17 years old, yeah, definitely. When I've gone to St Francis and seen the level that I was at and the level that I could have got to and aspired to go to, and I think at the time I was with under 15s. I played under 15 schools level, and I was in at about the 17s and 19s with national team, and it is something that I wanted to take serious and to have as a career.
Yeah, and so for me it was my family very much as well, education. Now it doesn't so much happen in boys football, but it's very different for the girls, isn't it? So you had the opportunity to go to America on the scholarship, and I've spoke to you about this before. You loved it over there, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. When I went over in April they call it an official visit for 2 days. I went over and I seen the college and stuff, and I just couldn't turn it down. The opportunity that they had given me and offered to me, I couldn't say no, and I enjoyed every minute of being over there. I was there 2.5 years, 3 seasons, and we were really successful, and it's something that's definitely helped me as a player mature. And then obviously, as you said, I got my degree from it as well. So. And
how did they balance the education side of it out with the training?
So basically you had college from 9 till 2 every day, and then from 2 till 4, half 4, you couldn't do any schoolwork. So basically even if there was classes available, you weren't able to take them in that period of time, because we would have training at 3 o'clock every day in the dead heat in Florida. So as you can tell, I acclimatised well. No, definitely not. It took me 2 years and it still wasn't right.
Really?
But
was it that big of a factor?
It was definitely hot. Like, I think spending 2.5 years away, I wanted to just come home and be closer to family for a while, and to let them be able to come and see my games regularly if they wanted, and make it more easier that way. And when I came home in December, I had no idea that in February I'd be at Man City.
How did that come about? Like, how did you have dreamt that type of move was on the cards or possible?
No, definitely not. I didn't expect it at all. And I think over Christmas I just enjoyed the Christmas and finishing over in America. Yeah, not too much. With family, but come January, February I was back training again, and they had got video of me from being at Florida State. They've seen it on YouTube, thankfully, with the internet now. There's access to everything, so they were seeing that, and they called me up and asked me if I wanted to go and train with them for the week. And when I went over, I spoke to Nick and I spoke to Gav, and Nick had just said that, listen, we want you, but we want to see if you enjoy it and you fit in and you want to be here, basically. And I think I went home on the Sunday and on the Wednesday I had flown to Abu Dhabi and signed my contract over there, so I couldn't ask for a better start, basically.
So it was a bit of a stark contrast, isn't it? You've gone that route, Drogheda there, Francis, then you've gone run up in the States, and now next of all you're at one of the biggest football clubs in the world.
Yeah,
that's just fairy tale stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's unbelievable, and the program that they've put in place from 2014, where they've turned professional on a full-time basis with the women's team, and to see where it is and where it's at now, it's phenomenal. Like last year winning the treble, and hopefully win the Continental Cup now again, or in the final again. So it's just the progress from 2014 to now. When you look back on it, we do it as a team sometimes, and just to see where we've all come from and to where we are today, and it's phenomenal. But I think for every young player looking in on it, as a girl, it shows them the path that you actually can succeed. And obviously,
how important is that we have people like you, women like you now playing and being that, role model? And it's probably a bit unfair to throw you because you're still only 24. But yeah, there's girls that aspire to be you now. You are playing from the biggest football clubs in the world, whereas maybe when you were growing up, did you have that type of role models, or was it mainly the men's team, or was there as much profile around it when you were growing up? Whereas now, there's certainly a lot more profile around the women's game, isn't there? Yeah,
the profile has definitely grown. I think back in the day when I was at that age, looking over it, there was a lot of male footballers that I'd look up to, especially at national level. But then you had the likes of Arsenal, who were doing phenomenally, and the likes of Emma Byrne and Keira Grant and Yvonne Tracy. They were all over there in Niamh Fahey, and as the game grew, obviously more girls went abroad and noticed that if I want to continue success, then unfortunately you have to leave Ireland and go to these professional clubs abroad. And but it's an honour for me to be able to say that I'm a role model for young girls to be able to look up to, and to hopefully one day be able to be in my boots and playing at Man City.
I have to ask you about Man City, the men's senior team. What we've seen this year, they've lost their first game. It's been phenomenal. Do you get to go on? I know he's very guarded in terms of his training sessions, isn't he, Pep Guardiola? But do you get to see that, or do you have any interaction, or do you go and watch the first team play? We don't have any interaction with them off the field, unless you have appearances and stuff like that as such. But we go as much as we can. Most of us will go on a Sunday if we don't have a game, or if our game's before theirs or their game's before ours. Sometimes just depends on the situation, but I'll try and get to a game as much as I can. I've been to a lot this season, and it's unbelievable to see the football that they're playing right now. I've certainly never seen anything like it at Premier League level. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's great too when you see the under 8s and the under 10s, not only the first team men's, but when you're seeing the under 8s and under 10s playing the same style of play
and
the whole way up.
For the girls, and then the women's team the exact same.
Yeah, definitely. It's the same philosophy the whole way through the club. Managers might have their different styles as to how they input certain things, but it's the same tactics put in throughout the teams. And it's obviously great that the men's are doing phenomenally well right now, for the young boys and even young girls to see that too. Yeah.
I always had the greatest respect for some of my international teammates who would have played at John O'Shea at Man United, or whether it was Duffer when he was playing and winning the Premier League. I always had a great respect for them when they came and played for Ireland. Obviously we didn't have the players that they would have had at Manchester United or Chelsea. How does it differ? How is it for you then when you come and play for Ireland? Obviously we've had the change of manager in the last year or so, and we've gone through a really good period in terms of good results, no more so than that game which unfortunately we had to watch a couple of days after the range against the Dutch. How does it change? How do you kind of tweak the way you play in terms of coming back into the Ireland fold?
I think at City I'm quite young still in regards to like the age, like throughout the team. But when I come into national team, I'm one of the older girls, and I think I'm now looked upon as a role model for the 16, 17-year-olds who are coming in, and it's great to see them coming in and getting that experience of being around me and other players who are playing at top level, and know that they can aspire to still be there even though they are 16, 17 and within the national first team. They still have a long career ahead of them, and it's great to they ask you questions as to what you're doing and how's the situation like and stuff like that, and it's just great to be able to give them positive feedback about women's football and to where we all are now. And
what's achievable for us as a nation with the women's team and the girls team? What can be improved? I know there's been a bit of negativity in terms of headlines and tracksuit gate and all that going back a year, and look, I've been there as well. Trust me, it's not just in the women's. It was in the men's as well. What can be improved in terms of the structure for women's health? Because we've seen it now with the national leagues for the boys coming through in national 15s, 17s, 19s, soon to be 13s the next few years. Is that happening for girls?
Yeah, it's happening, but I think it's a lot slower of a process than it is or was with the men's. I think it's still got a long way to go. It's got obviously the Women's National League, which has progressed over the last few years, don't get me wrong, it's come a long way. But I think there needs to maybe be that gap where between 19s to then playing first team, if you don't make it or you're not able to play, you're not in the starting 11, or you've got a big squad and you're not getting games on a weekend, to be able to have those younger players have that gap in between of a league possibly where they're still getting their football and still being able to progress and adapt. But don't get me wrong, the FAI have put a lot into the women's game, and even through the schools program that we're doing now, like over 11,000 young girls playing football. Like, isn't it? Yeah, it's phenomenal to see the numbers rise and rise and rise constantly.
Yeah. So going back to the senior team, women's team, put yourselves in a really good position to qualify. Yeah. The confidence must be through the roof, is it?
Yeah, definitely. I think when Colin came in, there was a lot of positivity, and he said, I was saying this before, like one of his first meetings, and when I was involved with the team with him for one of the first times, he said, I want to be in France, but I don't want to be there on a holiday. Right. He said, I want to be there as a manager on the sidelines while you're all on the pitch and playing in the World Cup. And so it's obviously great that your manager has that belief in you, never mind you as players. Obviously, as a player, you want to always make a finals tournament, and it's something you always want to achieve, especially in international in your career. But I think to have that positivity and the background staff and everyone, wanting the same goal.
So he's instilled
and
a real
knowing that we
belief
succeed,
within the squad that you can achieve.
Yeah, definitely.
No more so than that 0-0 draw away to the Dutch. What a magnificent result.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I think it's obviously some people might critique the way we were playing, or the very defensive structure that we had set in place, but we had a game plan, we stuck to it, and we got a draw. And in the end, I think when you look back on it in 10 years time, having hopefully qualified for our first major tournament, people don't see the 90 minutes that you play, they just see the result. And so we're obviously grateful to take that point. If you had given us that before the tournament started, you would have taken it with both hands. So hopefully we'll just push on now, and if not playoff, qualify outright.
I want to ask you about the FA Cup final. Not many Irish players have played in an FA Cup final, and I read an article the other day about when you were listening to the team being called out, you weren't sure whether you'd be in the squad where you just come back from injury, but the manager clearly has a lot of faith in you, and to play, what was that like to hear your name and then to actually play in an FA Cup final at Wembley? Yeah,
it was absolutely nuts. I think it was the Saturday we trained in CFA before we travelled down to London, and he was going through the team to obviously then go through the set pieces and stuff, and he's gone across the back four, and he said KB, Lucy, Steph, and then he said Megan, and I've like my heart just dropped. I couldn't believe it.
I bet you didn't hear any of the rest of the team, did you?
I actually didn't. The rest of the team was just gone straight over my head, but that opportunity, then I went straight on the phone to Dad and said, Dad, I'm starting. Like, I'm not even in the squad. Like, I'm starting. And so it was obviously a great opportunity for the family to come over and see me play. And Dad flew over, and my cousins and my uncle from England all came and watched. And I think a big moment for me before the game had even kicked off was when we were out lining up, and in 35,000 people in the stadium, my dad was standing there with an Irish flag, and that for me just was unbelievable. Like, that feeling that went through me to see an Irish flag in Wembley Stadium, and to not only be representing myself and my family and the club, but to be doing it for my national team as well was obviously something very special. And win it, obviously, we should stress. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I snuck the tricolour in under my shorts, and when I got to the top and wanted to lift the cup, I definitely had that on show. But yeah, it was a phenomenal opportunity for me, and hopefully I'll get many more in the future. Megan, thank you very much for joining us on the first ever Keith Andrews football show. Wish you the very best of luck with your injury. Thank you. And hopefully we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you, appreciate it.